Welcome to Santa Clarita Weekly. Get ready to dive deep into the heart of our community as we explore local news, events, and sports like never before. Now here's your hosts, Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty.
Welcome back for another edition of Santa Clarita Weekly with Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty. I'm Sage. He's Tim. Today we have a very packed show. We're talking about Chiquita Canyon landfill again, and then we're going to have an update on Prop 1. And then we're going to go off and talk about local sports and the Dodgers. So let's start out with the Chiquita Canyon landfill.
Chiquita Canyon landfill. There's been a lot going on at the Chiquita Canyon landfill. You have most of the details, Sage. You're the one that's been following this most closely. But a couple of things the big things that happened were they were denied a request to expand the landfill last week, and Clarita, our assemblywoman, is asking the governor of California to declare a state of emergency at the landfill because the pollution is so bad right now. Pollution is so bad. There were a couple other changes too. The landfill actually set up a relocation fund. People can apply for relocation funds if they want to, but there's problems with that as well. So you lead us into this, Sage. Tell us about the request to expand and why the landfill got rejected.
All right, in a major development, the Chiquita Canyon landfill's request to expand its operations has been denied by the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board. This comes as growing concerns about the landfill's environmental impact. So the landfill has faced numerous setbacks recently. It's been accused of polluting the air, soil, water, both on-site and in surrounding areas. Additionally, citations were issued for improperly transporting toxic chemicals and mishandling leachate, a hazardous liquid bioproduct of the landfill. The situation escalated further when the EPA declared the landfill a threat to public health due to air and water contamination. So the residents of nearby communities, including Valverde and Passaic, reported experiencing health issues linked to the pollution. So Los Angeles County officials, and specifically Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo and Supervisor Barker, are urging the landfill operator to assist residents affected by the pollution, including offering relocation services. I think you already talked a little bit about that, about how it may not be enough money right now allocated towards that. But Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo, on the 12th, has requested that Governor Newsom declare a state of emergency in Los Angeles County due to the ongoing crisis. And this would allow access to crucial state aid, including more relocation assistance and additional resources to mitigate the environmental damage. But this situation just highlights that urgent need for swift and effective solutions to protect the health and well-being of the community surrounding the Chiquita Canyon landfill.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. The rejection to expand, just to give a little more details on that. The landfill wanted to expand in the Northeast Canyon. It was East Canyon Project is what they called it. And what they basically wanted to do was to make more facilities, make more landfill processing facilities at the east part of the landfill. They made that request almost 2 years ago. They made it in January of 2022, and it just got denied. The letter that the Water Control Board sent to the landfill was dated March 1st. So it took almost 2 years for the Water Control Board to review the request, and then they finally denied it. And I don't know how they could have approved it with all the things that are going wrong with the landfill. But that's just one of the things that happened last week. So I mean, thank goodness they're not going to be able to expand, but at the same time, the problems aren't solved up there. They keep getting worse, and the people around the landfill are getting fed up. They really are. I've been seeing a lot of complaints about the relief fund that was set up and just about, the pollution that's being created by the landfill.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a really fast moving story. Seems like every day there's some more information about Chiquita Canyon and more developments. So we'll have more on that next week. Let's talk about Prop 1. So Proposition 1 was the proposition concerning mental health. So the mental health treatment facilities measure is now winning by very, very slim margins. I think the last time we checked, I think it was 50.4%, but of course it's updated every day, so it's going to change.
So Proposition 1, it's a bond measure for mental health treatment facilities, and it's a bond measure. It's almost $6.4 billion bond measure that is supposed to be used for facilities to treat mentally ill people, and particularly homeless people who are struggling with substance use. I want to call it substance use. I don't want to call it substance abuse, but it's for substance users, for addicts. And there were parts of the proposal that address veterans in particular. It's supposed to provide housing for veterans, services for veterans, and particularly veterans who are struggling with addiction and need those type of homeless services so they can get off the streets. I mean, that's kind of the goal of this whole initiative, this whole proposal, is to clean up the homeless problem in California. And that is barely passing that. I was reading a couple different stories about why this vote was so close, because it seems like such a good idea. Seems like there shouldn't be any opposition to this, and it's barely going to pass. It looks like it's barely going to pass by razor thin margin. And there were two things that I saw. There was one story I saw in the San Francisco Chronicle trying to explain why people might have reservations about this. And a lot of it has to do with the number one is that California is facing a budget deficit. And so voters may not be as confident about the economy as the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles are. I don't think anybody is really confident about the economy improving, but at the same time, California always has a strong economy. It might not be as strong as it was in the past, but it never gets really bad. It might get bad, but it didn't get really bad. But the other thing too is that the articles I was reading was people just like to vote no. And that's kind of a reality of elections when it comes to propositions. People, if they don't understand a bill, and this was a very complicated bill, they just vote no. They don't understand it. All they see is more money and what they think is higher taxes, and they automatically say, no, thank you. We don't need any more programs that are high cost and don't affect me, which is what a lot of voters think too. So those are the two reasons I see.
Well, I think, I think there are different factors, for that outcome. I mean, a budget deficit forecast for California, like you mentioned, could be to blame. But I think the other thing is there's just low voter turnout. People didn't turn out to vote, and the people that did turn out to vote tended to be more conservative. They tended to be Republican, and a lot of the Democrats and independents that, even though they don't turn out always for primaries, they turned out even lower than expected. So the voters that did show up are people that are likely to vote against measures like this. So it shouldn't be that surprising looking at the outcome. It's surprising that the voter turnout was that low, but they had Steve Garvey, they had the Senate race where Republicans really turned out for Steve Garvey and for Donald Trump in big numbers, and Democrats didn't have a competitive presidential primary, so they just did not turn out in the numbers that you would expect. And I think that kind of contributed to a lot of what we're seeing, including Prop 1.
No, the bottom line is that it looks like it's going to pass, and that's the good news, is that it should pass. It should provide services for part of our community, a part of our population that desperately needs it. So that's the good thing. And, I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much it passes by, just as long as it passes. And this is a good idea. I've always thought this was a good idea. I think it is directed at a problem that has been facing the state and the country, in particular, the country, to be honest, for a long time. So at least this is a solution. I mean, I don't know if it's the right solution, but at least it's something to try, and it's something that that is needed. And I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. The homeless problem in the state is way out of control, and it's been out of control for a long time. So this is a way to address that. And I think it's directed at the right people. It's directed at the veterans. It's directed at substance users, and it's just needed. I'm glad it's passing. I just wish there was a lot more support behind it.
Yeah, Governor Newsom didn't hit this one out of the park, but it's still a good play, so it's still going to pass. So that brings us to our next section. So we want to talk about the Foothill League. I know the Castaic baseball team is off to a rough start in the Foothill League. Castaic won the CIF Southern Section and Southern California Championship last season. They won the Southern Section Division 6 title and captured CIF Southern California Division 5 championship. But Castaic lost its first 2 games of the 2024 Foothill League season, and both losses were to West Ranch. They lost one game 2-1, and the other game 11-3. And West Ranch starter Jackson Buenelos, did I pronounce that correctly?
Banuelos. Jackson Banuelos
had an impressive outing against Castaic, giving up 1 hit and striking out at about 13 and 6.5 innings with the 2-1 win.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sage. I'm going to correct you on a couple of things. So the Castaic won the Southern Section Division 5. No, I'm sorry. You're right. They won the Division 6 championship. They won the Division 5 Southern California championship. And Jackson Banuelos, the West Ranch starter, went 6 1/3 innings, struck out 13, and gave up 1 hit. He almost had a 1-hitter. Almost had a complete game. So he had an awesome performance in his first start in Foothill League play. And just want to add in there too, he's going to go on to play in college. He's college level. He's next level type pitcher. He's going to be playing at CSUN next year, Cal State Northridge, and just one of the better pitchers, one of the better pitching talents in the Foothill League. So he's going to be hard to beat all year. He's going to be a problem for other Foothill League teams. And West Ranch is, as long as he's on the team, West Ranch is going to be good. He's a good starter. He's a good player, and he'll be a difference maker. He will be a difference maker with West Ranch. But as for Castaic, they did. I mean, they won a Southern California championship. They were, I don't want to say they were the best team in the Foothill League, because they finished in 3rd place in the league last year. Then they got into the playoffs and they caught fire. They went undefeated in the CIF Southern Section playoffs. They got into the Southern California championships, and they couldn't lose. They went on a roll. They won 9 straight games in the playoffs, and it was very impressive run.
Yeah. So how surprising is Castaic's 0-2 start considering their championship wins last season?
I don't know if it's surprising. They were a very successful team last year. I mean, there's no question about that. The downside of it is that Castaic graduated a lot of players from that team. And so in a lot of ways, they're rebuilding a little bit. They have a lot of young players on this team that don't have a lot of varsity experience, and that'll come. The team has a winning culture already. It's established. It's a good system. They produce quality baseball, and that's not going to change. The kids, the players, just need some time. I think they need some time.
Yeah.
To learn how to play at this level, for one, but number two, how to finish games, how to win, how to perform at a different level. And the one game that they lost to Jackson, they were in that game. It wasn't a blowout. I mean, Banuelos pitched to Jem. He was awesome. But Castaic, they didn't back down from that challenge. They were in the game. It was a close game. And I don't know what happened in the second game. West Ranch bats woke up and they scored 11 runs, and sometimes that happens. It's baseball.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that I'm concerned, I'm worried, whatever you want to call it, about Castaic. I think they'll figure it out. But yeah, that's a rough start, going 0-2 and then running into a pitcher he's college level. He's going to be pitching in college, and who knows where he goes from there. But yeah, they ran into one of the best pitchers, not only in the Foothill League, but maybe in Los Angeles County.
So how does the close competition at the top, the three teams are tied for first, affect the rest of the season for teams like Castaic?
Well, the top three teams in the Foothill League after the first week are West Ranch, Hart, and Saugus. They're all 2-0. I don't know what to make of Saugus, because they beat Canyon, and Canyon doesn't look like they have a very good team. So their 2 wins are against Canyon. Their 2 wins are against probably one of the worst teams in the Foothill League. Hart, on the other hand, they beat Valencia twice, and Valencia is normally very good. And so those were 2 tough games for Hart. They pulled them out. They shook Valencia out in one game, 5-0. And then the second game was Hart won 3-2, but it went 8 innings, one extra inning. It went into extra innings. So that was a tight game. That was a close game. Valencia seemed to hit a different level. It was a different team. And the wins that Hart had are more quality wins, I would say. So it looks like West Ranch and Hart are probably going to rise to the top in this league. We'll see about Saugus. I'm not going to give up on Saugus quite yet, but I want to see them beat a better team than Canyon. And then as for Castaic, like I said, I think they just need time. I think this team will rattle off some wins in Foothill League. But yeah, they're just not ready yet. I just hope they can turn it around before the season ends, because it's going to end pretty quick.
In softball, Valencia is off to a hot start at 2-0 in the Foothill League. The Vikings won games over Hart and Saugus. West Ranch is in second place at 1-0. The Wildcats beat Castaic 6-1 in its Foothill League opener. Saugus is 1-1 in the Foothill League with a win over Canyon 4-0 and a loss to Valencia 7-3. Hart, Canyon, and Castaic have 0-1 records in the Foothill League. Golden Valley has not played a Foothill League game as of yet.
So yes, it's very early in the season. Valencia does look like it is the top of the league, the top of the heap right now, and that's not surprising. Valencia has always had a strong program. Valencia is always a team that is in contention for a Foothill League championship, for league championships. So I'm not surprised that they're out to a 2-0 start. They're 9-3 overall. They haven't lost a whole lot of games against other teams out of the league either. So they're a good team. They've shown they're a good team. They beat a good Saugus team 7-3. So it doesn't look like they're it doesn't look like they've dropped off. It doesn't look like they've lost their traditional strong performances in the Foothill League. Now, go ahead.
But what has contributed to Valencia's undefeated start, that 2-0 in the Foothill League?
It's tradition. Like I said, it's tradition. They're a well-coached team. They always have a good culture set up there. They develop players really well. Players want to go there because of the winning tradition that it's established. So it's not only a successful place to play, but the environment there is it helps produce these type of teams. It's I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, the winning culture there is probably the best in the Foothill League, the best in Santa Clarita. It's hard to compete. Every once in a while, Saugus will have a good team that can challenge them, sometimes even Hart. But yeah, but Valencia has always been the top tier in the Foothill League.
So how does Castella's loss to West Ranch compare to their recent performance in previous seasons?
Well, Castaic is still a young team. I don't see Castaic doing a whole lot of damage in the Foothill League this year. As for West Ranch, on the other hand, is going to be a problem. Like I said, Valencia and Saugus are usually, the top two teams in league, but what West Ranch is not a pushover either. They're going to be in a lot of games. They're going to be competitive in a lot of games. And I just don't know if they're going to be as good as Valencia. We'll see when those two teams match up. But for now, it looks like Valencia and West Ranch are going to be fighting it out for the Foothill League Championship.
All right. So let's move on to the Dodgers. The Dodgers are moving Mookie Betts to shortstop and Gavin Lux to second base. And the move comes after Lux had a tough defensive game in spring training. He is returning from surgery, missed the whole 2023 season. He was supposed to be the starting shortstop, but the Dodgers are seeing something they don't like, and they're making a move. But Betts was starting right fielder for the Dodgers and played some second base last year. Now it looks like the Dodgers are moving him again, and to give Lux either a chance to improve his defense or turn him into the second starting second baseman, rather. Either way, it's a move that puts Betts out of position and perhaps shows another weakness in a strong Dodgers lineup.
Yeah, this infield is turning into a mess, and the season hasn't even started yet. You got to feel bad for Gavin Lux. He had surgery last year. He missed the whole season. And playing shortstop at the major league level, that's probably the hardest position to play. It's the hardest position to play in any level of baseball. And asking a player to come off of surgery to be at the level he was before he had surgery, that's a lot to ask. And it showed. It's been showing. He can't make the throws. He's a little, I don't want to say skittish, but you can see that, the confidence he has in fielding ground balls right now is not the same as it was before the surgery. So he's definitely struggling. And I don't know if this is going to be a thing that it just takes some time to get acclimated to the major league level again, or if this is just an effect of the surgery. This is who he is now, and he's just not a major league shortstop anymore.
So how will moving Betts to shortstop potentially impact the Dodgers' defensive strategy?
See, this is where it gets a little complicated, because the Dodgers do have other options they can play at shortstop. And one of them is Chris Taylor. He's definitely capable of playing shortstop, but he's not going to be the best shortstop in the league by any means. He'll be very average. The other option they have is Kike Hernandez, who can play shortstop, but he can play anywhere. But his value on the team is that he can play every position. So you don't want to lock him in as your starting shortstop when you might need to bring in a defensive replacement in center field or third base or wherever else you might need later in the game. So that's an option, but it's not why Kike Hernandez is on the team. And the only other option they have for shortstop is Miguel Rojas. And he's not as bad as Chris Taylor defensively at shortstop, but he's not that much better. I mean, he's a very capable shortstop. He will be able to field the position. He did a lot of that last year. But that kind of leaves Mookie out of position too. And he could always go back to right field. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Mookie's going to be playing most. I actually see him moving back into the outfield because the Dodgers do have better options at shortstop than Mookie Betts right now. But we'll see how it plays out there. There's a few more games in spring training left, and they can experiment a little bit. But for now, gosh, that whole infield looks like it's going to be a problem, and I don't know if they can fix it with the players they have on the team right now.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the South Korea? So I know the starting pitching matchups have been announced for the games against the San Diego Padres in South Korea.
Yes, this is an exciting time. So the Dodgers will start the season in South Korea on March 20th. They're playing the San Diego Padres. They're going to play 2 games in South Korea before coming back home and then having their home opener later in the month. But the starting pitchers for the games have been announced, and excitingly enough, Tyler Glasnow, who's a Hart High graduate, is going to get the opening day start against Yu Darvish for the Padres. So Glasnow is going to start for the Dodgers. Darvish is going to start for the Padres. And Glasnow is kind of a surprise. I thought Yoshinobu Yamamoto would be the opening day starter. He's from Japan. He's the supposed new ace of the staff, and it would make sense to start the Japanese pitcher in a game in Asia, in Korea. But Dodgers said no, we're going to start with Glasnow, and it should be exciting for Hart High fans in Santa Clarita. It should be exciting for Santa Clarita fans to see a homegrown player be the opening day starter for the Dodgers. That hasn't happened. I don't think it's ever happened. So just exciting time for the Dodgers, and now we know. So it's going to be Glasnow versus Darvish in the first game, and it'll be Yamamoto versus Joe Musgrove in the second game. And the other thing that this sets up too is it probably means that Tyler Glasnow will be the opening day starter at home for the Dodgers when they come back too. So, just a lot of things are falling in place for Glasnow, and it should be exciting to watch him pitch, especially since he is the homegrown hero right now.
Yeah. So how will the outcome of the games in South Korea affect the overall momentum of the Dodgers season?
Well, you want to win. You want to win your first games of the season. You want to have a hot start. And I don't know if it'll carry any momentum back home, but if you lose 2 games, you start 0-2, you come back home, that just puts you in a bad place. But it puts the team in a bad place. It puts your thoughts on the future in a bad place. So you don't want to do that. The best case scenario is to come out of Korea with 2 wins. Even coming out with the split isn't horrible, but at the same time, you can't come out of that series 0-2, and you can't lose 2 games to the Padres, a division rival, at the start of the season. Those games are important, and the Padres, even though they weren't that great last year, they should be a good team. They're not a horrible team, but the Dodgers should be able to beat the Padres, and they should be able to beat them twice in Korea.
Yeah. So is there a lot of excitement in Santa Clarita that you've seen for the somebody from here, right, from Hart High?
The opening day starter. Yes. There's always excitement. It's always exciting when a hometown kid, a high school product from Santa Clarita is not only in the major leagues, but playing for the Dodgers. And it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it always creates excitement. We love watching our own players, our own kids reach the highest level of professional sports. So it's exciting. The buzz around him has been high. It's been good since he got signed, and it'll be an exciting year for him. It'll be an exciting year for him, I'm sure. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people in Santa Clarita who will go to Dodger games just to watch him pitch. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the season, and he's going to be a good fit too. He's going to be a good fit on this team. So I'm excited for that as well.
All right. So that's our show for the week. Thanks for tuning in. Come back next week for more discussions about what's in the news in Santa Clarita. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing, there's anything else you would like us to talk about. So have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Santa Clarita Weekly. You can watch the show on Santa Clarita Star's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as listen in on the radio at KQRU 107.9. The show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.